From celebrity suicides to classified intelligence leakers to evidence being stolen from Congress in the ANON investigation to the NSA coming out on Twitter, we have had a week to remember. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every one of these episodes I start off by saying thank you to every one of my subscribers because you guys are what generate this channel, what make it work. You're the power engine behind it. So thank you to each and every one of you. If you have not hit that subscribe button already, please come here to this landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified as soon as these videos get posted. Now, this has been a week to remember. For those of you who don't know, there was a countdown given by Q, right? And it was approximately 30 days ago. That countdown ends in 2 days on June 11th. And significance of that date being you have the Inspector General's report set to be released. You have President Trump sitting down with Kim Jong-un of North Korea in Singapore. And you have a plethora of other things that are being rumored that could be being released on that date. But those are the two big marks for what's going to happen. And there's been a lot of speculation about what else could be coming out on that date. And one of the speculations is about Seth Rich. Another one is about basically just a larger story that's going to be breaking. So we'll look at all these things, and we're also going to examine, if you guys want to stick around for it near the end, the Eye of the Spy. This person, again, I've covered it once before, and it's a Twitter account that now the person is saying, now they've said before they aren't associated with Q, and it's obvious that they're associated with the NSA if you had gone to their page and seen what they have up there, because I mean their header is a an eye that says NSA in it, right? But we're going to read their latest string of posts because I like to examine all the evidence. I like to bring you guys a little bit of everything. And I think this definitely warrants looking at because they're not, Q said don't trust outside or no outside comms. Don't trust people who claim they know Q. But it would seem this person has been adamant about not knowing Q, and then also about the fact that they work for the NSA and that they're basically trying to disseminate information. So I'm going to, let you guys look at that information. You guys can see it and check it out for yourself. But before we do that, let's get into what's coming up. Singapore is prepping for President Trump to have his summit with Kim Jong-un. And right ahead of all this, which I've kind of predicted in the sense that I was saying this, it's going to be really hard for the MSM to, the reason that this summit is so important, not just for world peace. I mean, because that's the main thing. But it's important because, you can actually use this politically. I mean, the President Trump's administration can, because the media has to cover this in some form or fashion. It's going to take a lot of the wind out of other stories. But at the same time, you can use it for good and you can use it for bad. And it seems like the media wants to use this, and they're going to use it as bad as they can against the president, as much as he's going to try to use it to twist things in his favor, which I think I support 100% for Trump using this to kind of spin the story, because the story's been being spun so far the other way that it has to come back. And here's what the story is now that's coming out as of yesterday about this James Wolfe character. And I mean, you look at this guy and I mean, I don't know what's going on there. He looks like, I don't like to get into like aesthetic things because it doesn't count, but he just looks like a shrewd individual. Let's put it that way. And that this individual is being accused of leaking classified information. And there's apparently a woman who's involved, who's a journalist at the New York Times, who somehow knew this man or was in some kind of relationship with him, allegedly, to where he was giving her information that he should not have been leaking, as in classified information leakers are basically the worst kind of traitors, especially if they're doing it to undermine the president and to undermine the country as a whole. That's something we need to kind of cut back on, right? Because he is actually working in one of the higher offices in charge of handling classified information that goes through the Senate. So as part of the Senate Intelligence Committee, he was basically in charge of filing and keeping sensitive and classified information. So he had access to information that he could just share with whoever he liked. So, yeah, I haven't thought of a good name for that guy yet, but James Wolfe. He seems like he's going to be an interesting character that we're going to have to keep an eye on going forward. Now, this is a story that's breaking. It's coinciding with this. I don't know what the timing is like there, but it's before it. So the main one I think that I was saying they were going to use this for is, it eases the blow and it lessens the media blowback. You can use this as deflating some of these stories that are going to get the major spin and blowback, like this one, where they're going to try to spin it as in this guy's like a hero for coming out and leaking information or something. So that's what that is. And now we're going to talk about Anthony Bourdain. And here is a something that an Anon found that I just was like, I mean, when I saw this, I was like, this is crazy, right? But first, here's a tweet where Anthony Bourdain, from about a month ago, is saying, and I am in no way an HRC fan. I've been on the receiving end of her operatives' wrath, and it ain't fun. And rest his soul. May his soul rest in peace. He died of alleged suicide in France yesterday. Now, regardless of what you think of Anthony Bourdain and his politics, there's actually a lot of people in the other end of the spectrum of media, which is not the mainstream media, which is the counter to the mainstream, which is just the independent truth media, who are saying and alleging that not only was Anthony Bourdain basically going to come out and be more of a moderate and reach out to the other side, which is, I don't understand how that could be perceived as a bad thing unless you're counting on a stranglehold and a division in our nation, right? But he was planning on coming out and exposing certain things, and I've even seen Alex Jones going on about how him and Elon Musk were basically, Elon Musk red pilled Anthony Bourdain, and that he was going to go and basically start a show with Elon Musk, and they were going to talk about the truths in what we've uncovered. I mean, what the things that we take for granted here, especially on this channel, I guess, would be the things that we take for just being real, because we're not afraid to address them, such as the Luciferian globalist pedophile rings, and how all of this is being discovered in real time. And a side note to that, we're going to talk briefly, if maybe at the end of this episode, if I don't get to it, it will be in the next episode, about just what's going on with this Arizona thing, because the more I watch this, the more this is, and I hate to say it because these guys are really out there doing hard work and putting their lives on the line, it would seem, but it's just the story is getting crazier and crazier out there, and it's almost becoming hard to believe that this is all just happening. And that there's not something else motivating or driving this. These guys seem like Christians, and I don't want to cast aspersions because they're out there, veterans, working hard to expose this. But let's just put it this way. It's an unbelievable story that just keeps getting more and more unbelievable. So we're going to have to continue to examine it and let you guys decide, because I don't want to get into it right now, because this is a side to this. Anthony Bourdain, and there's been a number of suicides, and apparently somebody pointed out as well that a lot of these people who are doing it with doorknobs, and that is weird to me because it seems like one of the most inefficient ways to do it. But I guess I don't even want to get into that because it's disturbing and it's sick and it's sad. But we pray for those who are going through it. But the insinuation was basically that all these very famous people who have lost their lives to this suicide have done it on doorknobs. So I don't know what that means. But you guys do with that as you will. Now, this in and of itself is no direct evidence of anything, but it is an interesting thing to note, especially when you put it into context of somebody who had pointed out here that the New York Times said that there actually, a French prosecutor had said there was sign of foul play in the suicide of Anthony Bourdain. And this was from today, earlier this morning. And this is out on the New York Times. So let's be honest, right? Even there's some, even though there are people saying that this was suicide, there's also doubt, because the investigation couldn't have taken place. It's only been like 1 day, right? So to close an investigation that quickly would be pretty irresponsible, if you ask me. I mean, if there is suspicion of foul play, of course. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. Now, another thing that I thought was very interesting that I wanted to cover. You guys let me know what you think about this. Here's another thing also, before we jump off of Anthony Bourdain. People have made this connection between Asia, his wife or girlfriend, Bourdain, and this person named Joe Coleman, who looks like they seem to call this guy Papa, and he was basically the insinuation was that this person was somehow a handler of sorts. People have said that, and I don't know if any of this is true, but I'm just giving you what the speculative thought is there. That people have suggested that people are used in these mind control operations, especially like people who have a high level of reach or influence or power. They can be handled using, like, let's say, it's like hypnosis kind of, with keywords that can, put you into a very suggestible state. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just saying that, it's been noted that Asia, I think they just got married. His wife, I'm sorry, because he had been divorced before, but that the all-seeing cyclops eye, that's what she referred to this guy as having, and the trick of light, and so on and so forth. And if you actually go through what he's posted here, these are just the weird imagery and pictures, and how this guy, let's be honest, he kind of looks like some kind of I don't know what, like your atypical, your cast for the position of, I don't know, the devil. I don't know. I apologize that I don't know this person at all, but they fit that description to me, and that's what that is. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. They've made all these insinuations about it, and there's just not enough evidence yet or proof of anything other than a lot of speculation going on, suggesting that it may not have been a actual suicide. And even there, apparently, according to the New York Times, there was a French prosecutor who has said that himself. So that is definitely something to be noted and to be followed. But now let's get into something even more interesting. You have Jordan Sather. He is another truther. Guy does a great job. He pointed this out, and he was talking about how he said, didn't Q say the Seth Rich story would resurface in June? We need justice for him. And I agree with that 100%. And it talks about Aaron Rich attorneys subpoena Twitter to turn over all the messages between WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, Kim.com, Cassandra Fairbanks, and others. And it's saying here, the post from Q, right, from April 19th, where he says, Seth Rich connect to DNC, MS-13, Julian Assange, why did Democrats push legal representation on family, June estimated time of arrival, Q. So we're in June. Could the 11th be the exposition of what the truth is behind the Seth Rich story, and the connection to the DNC, and the connections between the fact that the circumstantial and the circumstantial evidence would point us to believe that Seth Rich actually took this. If you look at, there's a lot of it. Nothing's direct evidence, but there's a lot of circumstantial evidence to say that it would be possible that Seth Rich took the emails directly off of his laptop from his own account through a jump drive, and then distributed those to WikiLeaks through Kim.com and others. It's possible, right? And he also, Jordan Sather, points to this other post from Q on April 20th, which would be the day after, where it says, answer question regarding Seth Rich. Seth Rich, June, Julian Assange, now, right? And it gave this article to the Democratic Party, who filed a lawsuit against, what idiots they are. They filed a lawsuit against Russia and WikiLeaks and the Trump campaign for spreading the conspiracy theory that they're involved with Seth Rich's basically untimely demise and his subsequent elevation into folklore as being a major character in the WikiLeaks story, which it's folklore for now, but it may be proven factual in the future. So that's basically what we're having to look forward to, and I think it's something that we should note. And so somebody made a lot of very important connections to all this, right? Now, I don't know if any of this is true or not, but the speculation to this point is that the connection with Seth Rich goes all the way back to a broader conspiracy of those inside of our government who are working for a foreign government's intelligence agency, who are involved with a very, very basically, it's the only way I could describe it as an evil plot to subvert basically our systems of governance by embedding these operatives who in turn enact their criminal actions of blackmailing government workers in order to effectively be able to control policy and control different aspects of our government. Now, none of this is verified. I'm not going to get into names of who and what and when, because I've read through it, and to report on it right now before the story gets fleshed out completely is in my opinion, mildly irresponsible. So I'm just telling you that my opinion is that it would make sense if there was something like that, given the circumstance to which we are seeing, or under which we are seeing these sequences of events play out, given what happened to Seth Rich, given what happened with WikiLeaks, given what's going on behind the scenes with those who seem to be the most guilty, i.e. The page that would not stay loaded, right? Of course, because it's the Gateway Pundit. They're trying to shut this thing down really quick. Really, they don't like what the Gateway Pundit has to say. So, but key evidence. Listen to this. Key evidence goes missing. Server belonging to Wasserman Schultz IT worker Imran Awan is physically stolen from Congress. And this is from June 8th. So just yesterday, they literally walked in and stole it from Congress. These people have there's a lot to hide here. And the connections, listen to me, what the connections here could go to, even these people can go connected possibly to foreign intelligence agencies who are actively having operations in our country to basically subvert our government. And I don't say that lightly, but it is a possibility. And I hope that everyone watching this video understands that and is cognizant of the fact that there could be actors of foreign intelligence agencies actively working inside of our Congress in order to basically propagate a criminal conspiracy to control through blackmail other members of government. So, guys, listen to me. Please continue to do the research. I will continue to bring you information as it becomes available to me, but please keep your thinking hats on, because this is definitely a time where we need more critical thinkers and those who will examine the evidence further and further and further until they get to the bottom of what's actually going on. So before we close out here, though, we're going to talk about this guy. Who is I the Spy, right? Well, I the Spy. He is apparently works for the NSA. So okay, and they are here to give us information. Okay, the information that they're giving us is incredible, really. But they only follow 5 people, it would seem: Assange, Snowden, Pompeo, Trump, and the NSA. Okay. And now he's telling us in no uncertain terms that he does work, or they do work, for the CIA, or the NSA, excuse me. Big difference. And we're going to read through some of his latest tweets here, and I just want to give you what his take is, or their take is, and I hope that you understand that if you guys want to do more research on this, please, you can. But here's where it all starts. It's from 2 days ago on the 7th, where he says, "Clowns are in overdrive tonight. Love it. Keep exposing yourselves, please. It makes my job so much easier. No digging required." Going into the next post where it says, "Okay, it's 2:11 a.m., which means I definitely should sleep. I do this thing called work in the morning. Me being tired on the job isn't good for me or you or the NSA in general. Have a blessed night out there. Even you LARPy," he likes to use that term for people he doesn't approve of, expletives, "that love to hate. Stay sharp, fam." Right? Okay. Now, here's a good one. And then here he's referencing Donald Trump, and he's saying, "Good job working around the clock to make America great again." And then he gives us this cryptic little tweet where he says, "Anthony Bourdain was next to drop dead," basically skull. "Are you keeping a list?" And then he says, "Let me explain." Not in response to his own post there, he says, "Let me explain. Not a suicide. This is suicide watch. Thank Q," right? Then gives a list of all the people who have basically taken their lives. Which would include Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, which would be two of the more notable ones, as well as the psychologist in the JonBenet Ramsey case. So this is a kind of an interesting look at it. He's basically they're basically laying it all out for us. And again, as long as people speak out, truth will always win. Now, again, this person doesn't claim to be Q. He doesn't claim to be related to Q, other than he says that, or they say that they've been protecting Q and that they work to protect it so that Q can post, I guess. So here's what he says. "We NSA are a big part of protecting Q team. Specific mission. Q is very, very real. We also are responsible for much of Q intel, traffic cams, data collection on bad actors, etc. We have saved Donald John Trump, President Trump's life, multiple times, including from the CIA, the bite that has no cure, NSA." And this was in response to somebody asking for info they don't know. So this is what their claim is. And I'm putting it out there for you guys to look at for yourselves. But this I the Spy character seems to say that they are with the NSA. They protect the Q team. Obviously, Q's referenced the NSA multiple times and said that a lot of the information they got was through maybe Admiral Rogers and the NSA. So I'm not quick to dismiss this, because this seems to be, and it could be, a very valid claim, but we'll see what Q says when he comes back. I'm sure that Q will have to address I the Spy, or maybe he won't. But either way, it would be telling to know whether he does or even doesn't. It would tell us something, especially given what he's saying. And he gives us this, technically Q already told you all of this. If you go to any archive like QAnon.pub and search for NSA, you will find this is verifiably true. I do not leak compromising intel ever. Okay, so here's a good one. This is something I thought was very interesting. "The power of the United States military and economy dwarfs every other country on the planet. There is no competition. China's numbers don't even begin to compare, despite pop news, MSM claims, and infrastructure counts. Without the USA, no one can survive. Prep info for future news." I have a feeling that this is referring to news that's going to be coming up, that he's going to be one of those future proofs past things. Maybe this person has some kind of insight into information that's coming down the pipeline that none of us really can see yet. But it's basically saying the United States military and economy dwarf other countries on the planet, and that there's no competition. China's numbers aren't even close because infrastructure, they don't have any infrastructure set up. It's only a few cities that really have a lot of wealthy people. And it's saying without us, no one can survive. So I think, is it possible the news that could be coming up that they're referring to is some kind of announcement of some global treaty that's going to not include the United States? And then we'll see how far that gets them. Here's a good one. He put all the posts here. He got all of the the followers of this thread basically to upvote what he told to Chrissy Teigen about the fact that Q outed her and her husband, and they're basically what they've been doing. Then here's an interesting one. It gives like a weird kind of cryptic message. It says, "I might be an eye, even a Cheshire cat, but the true power to affect change that remains yours. You, the people, when united around common cause, create massive change. Thank you. One blow from 1,000 hands at once can fell a mighty giant. I am in your debt again." So I don't know. This is cryptic because it's like an eye and a Cheshire cat. So the only thing is I guess one of the eyes, the Five Eyes, which would be the United States branch of the Five Eye and the NSA, and a Cheshire cat. So maybe this guy's from the UK or something. I think that's where Cheshire cats are from. But anyway, if you guys have any thoughts on that, leave them down in the comments section, of course. And he also talks about the G7 summit. He sums it up, right? And I'm just going to give you all of his latest tweets. It says, in simple terms, we did not budge an inch, and the EU collectively wetted themselves loudly. Oh, also, again, President Trump offered to end the federal ban on pot, goodbye prison industrial complex. So obviously they're pro marijuana, which I think is fine as long as it keeps people from going to jail for a plant. That would be probably a good step in the right direction. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't expect you guys all to believe that. Now, for those who doubt so here's another thing. Back Channel 17 came out recently and said they were Julian Assange, right? And now I, the spy, is basically trying to verify that and tell us, look, there's evidence to say that Q is going to posted the extraction details on December 25th and said Payne arrives the 11th, which would be the countdown, the 23 from the 19th, which would be June 11th. 11th is the anniversary of MIA and Julian Assange at Meltdown Festival, right? And Julian Assange's last post was paper planes. This is just some of the evidence. Space was limited. So you go through it, and it basically gives you this post from Q here from back on the 25th, where it's saying operational window, and it's basically saying, like, what he's suggesting is that this post confirmed that Julian Assange was able to get on Twitter, and the operation to get him out was enacting. Here's one from May 19th where it says the countdown was to begin, that from May 19th to from the 23rd to, 23 days from the 19th would have come to June 11th. And he says I'd watch the news that day. So we'll see what that does. Then he gives some post here, I guess talking about June 11th, how Julian Assange will be joining the conversation remotely at 10:30 to 11:45. So I guess we should probably be watching that. Ahead of the festival, MIA recently released a new song, Goals. Okay. MIA Paper Planes. Here's the post from Julian Assange. He put this up. So yeah, that's the run of evidence there. So you guys do with that as you may. I looked at Back Channel before, and they were kind of dismissed, and then it seemed like they came back. I don't know if this is all basically one big misinformation ring or if it's all true, but you guys will use your critical thinking skills. And here's another one. They seem very sensitive about people who talk bad about the NSA. It kind of gives basically a warning to people who talk bad about the NSA. Then he says that people said that he was fake and they failed, and that he would dox him and they failed, and that then they made up clown IDs and clowns and trolls. And he's saying that basically they're saying that they're being persecuted. And then he goes on to say, in other news, Mitt Romney is pro-Trump now. And here's a good one that I really thought was interesting. Why does Hollywood need sexual assault to stay in headlines constantly now? Because they're in real trouble for pedophilia. Nothing blatantly distances them from it, like pretending to champion this cause. Don't be fooled by the movie, quote unquote. The real devil is yet to be exposed. So I believe that could be very well the case. That is like a pretty well summed up statement. So we'll have to keep an eye out and see what that ends up being. Then he talks here. The last post he had was talking about $1 billion fine that the USA took $400 million in escrow from, and they have 30 days to change management in the board of ZTE, and that there's a future 10-year ban rule in place to prevent bad behavior, and no more secret phone communications, as in whoever they were supplying those phones to that Q was picturing in the boards we were looking at being delivered in China. probably being distributed out to people for secret phone conversations that would be able to avoid NSA pickup, saying do not mess or expletive with Donald Trump, the President Trump. So that's I the Spy. You guys do with that as you may. I'm going to keep an eye on this this Twitter feed for you guys. As there's more information, I just wanted to read through all those. Let me explain why I did that. It wasn't because I think everything that was written on here is true. Moreoverly, I wanted to do it to show you guys and give you an example of what line of reasoning this person's putting together for them being with the NSA, and then the facts and proof they're using to try to back that up. So you guys break that down, critically think about it. If you guys want to follow them, go follow them. If you don't. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to monitor the feed because I like to monitor all venues of information, because I like to be completely fair when I research stuff. I'll even read a CNN article just to see what kind of propaganda they're putting out. So that's definitely going to be basically it for this episode. I want to thank everyone for watching. And before we go, we're definitely going to take a second here and talk about God. And we're going to first talk about ways you can help the channel. If you're looking for a way to contribute and help the channel, the best way to do it is to come here to this landing page. It's easy. It's free to you. It helps me out big time. It's like throwing me a buck. Just come here. If you have not already, click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you'll be notified when these videos get posted. The second best way you can help out the channel, which I love, it's my favorite, is for you to scroll down at the end of this video and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comments, because like I say, we try to have our own QAnon research board at the end of each one of these videos where we discuss the latest news and the latest news in relation to older and new Q posts. So you guys go down there, and even if you can't leave a comment, just scroll down and read through it. You're definitely going to learn something you didn't know previously. And also come watch some of my latest videos if you want to get an idea of what's been going on lately and the incredible stories that are breaking from what's going on in Arizona all the way through what happened with the text messages between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and spies in the Trump campaign, and all the way to more information on what's going on in Arizona. So if you guys want to get an idea of what's going on in the world there, definitely go back and watch those videos. Now, my channel definitely depends on support from viewers like you. So if you can and you are able to, please come over here to Patreon. That's patreon.com. You can search Just Informed Talk. When you come to this landing page, just click this button to become a patron. It allows me to do this every day, to bring you information every day, multiple times a day sometimes, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So for everybody who comes here and contributes, thank you so much. You guys are really what make this channel work, and please come over here and contribute if you can. But that is going to be it for that. Now, talking about God and the most important thing. Well, here is words of caution. And I think that these words are important to pass along, because you have to take caution and remember that not only do we need to love God, but we must fear God. And we must fear ourselves stepping out of line and saying and doing things that we don't mean. And even I get kind of self-reflective at times, and I look back and I ask God, was this right? Was that right? And I don't doubt my decisions, but I like to learn if they were right or wrong as I go forward, so I can make better decisions in the future. So I think this passage that I want to share with you from Ecclesiastes, it talks about that, and it talks about how we use our words and how we must think before we use our words, which I think is an important lesson for a lot of you out there, including myself, that the words we use are important, and we're free to use whatever words we want. That's the free will that God gave us. That's the First Amendment that we have in our Constitution here in the United States, and that's just the basic inherent freedom I believe all humans should have, is the freedom to do and say what they would like, as long as they're not actually hurting anyone. But I'm not talking about feelings. I'm talking about physically hurting someone. So, but I think we have a choice to make as Christians about what words we use and how we say them. And like, for instance, I choose not to curse because it's something I think is not the best form of communicating. Now, I have said curse words, believe it or not, off the air. I've said a curse word, quite a few times, And but I do my best not to, and not just here, but in real life as well, because I think to me, cursing denotes basically just a sort of animalistic instinct in all of us to express anger, to express emotion verbally. And if we can control that, then we tend to think and be more rational and logical. But that's just my thought on it. So you guys, you're more than welcome to curse all you'd like. I'm not the thought police or the word police here. But let's read Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 all the way through verse 7. But it says, guard your step when you go to the house of God. Better to draw near in obedience than to offer the sacrifices fools do, for they are ignorant and do wrong. Do not be hasty to speak. Do not be impulsive to make a speech before God. God is in heaven, and you are on earth, so let your words be few. For dreams result from much work, and a fool's voice from many words. When you make a vow to God, don't delay fulfilling it, because he does not delight in fools. Fulfill what you vow. Better that you do not vow than that you vow and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth bring guilt on you, and do not say in the presence of the messenger that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry with your words and destroy the work of your hands? For many dreams bring futility, also many words. So fear God. And what that message says to me is that sometimes you have to let things speak for themselves. And with that being said, I really hope those words stick with you. And I want to wish you many blessings. And that's going to be it for this episode. So I want to thank you all for watching. Again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please come over here, hit the big red subscribe button. It helps the channel out big time. But that's going to be it for me. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.